He didn't tell me how to live, he lived and let me watch him do it. This is a quote about fathers. It's once said that we are made up of little pieces of everybody that surrounds us. And I think it's fair to say that we could all mention somebody or think of somebody that's inspired us or that we look up to. And for me, that's my dad. Daniel L. Drew, my dad, he's a great guy. He grew up here in Mesa, now resides in Northern California near Sacramento. He's author of a few books, and he's writing more, which I admire him for doing that. In one of his books, his good friend wrote a little biography about him. And he quotes, saying, Dan possessed an almost awkward purity, inclined to the vision that amplifies the world by emulating an overflowing stream of optimistic, can-do faith. Dan is and has always been part of the rare breed that lifts us and elevates our view beyond the rooftops. I'm glad that my dad's friend could say that about him. I don't get to see my dad that often, but for somebody I don't see that often, I admire him for his hard work, and his example, and his love towards other people, and especially towards me. If there's a word that I could use to describe my dad, I think hardworking is a good one. Ever since I was a small kid, from the years maybe 5, 6 years old, until late teenage years, my dad has always wanted to see me. Always bought plane tickets 2 times a year for me to go see him, me and my sister. In his work, he's known as a hard worker, and he's willing to sacrifice, to make that sacrifice, to be able to pay for the things that are important for him, like those plane tickets. He also joined the Army when he was younger, when he was a young newlywed, and that drove him to different states around the country, and me too. And he learned there the importance of hard work. And unfortunately, many of the trainings there are pretty rigorous, and people do get injured. My dad did get injured. He injured his back. Now, he's not disabled, but he has some limitations due to that. And when he was in high school, returning the time back a little bit farther, he was an all-star gymnast. My dad liked doing gym. And it was a hobby that turned into a talent, and that got him into college on a full-ride scholarship. Willing to work and sacrifice. And I do admire him for that. His hard-working example is big to me. His example is one of unwaveringly trying to improve. And my dad's not perfect, or he's not even close to being perfect, but he tries to always better and improve what he has done. He likes to achieve his desires. And he is a righteous and just man. I do look up to him for that. I know that through his words, I can tell of his conduct and his self-discipline, and through his actions towards others. Sometimes he doesn't have to say anything to be an example to me, and that's what means most, the small and simple acts that my dad does. And I'm so greatly thankful for this example, and also the love that he offers towards me. He's always able to put a smile on my face. My dad is not really normal. He's kind of unique in many different ways. He has weird gestures, weird sayings, and a lot of times it embarrasses me. But as I look back on it, it put a smile on my face. If I was in a bad mood, if it's a good mood, not so bad mood, I was always able to find comfort in my dad. And he'd tell funny stories also, whether they made sense or not. They were funny stories that made me feel special. He'd always try to express his love towards me by letters. From a young kid up to my teenage years, I'd get letters. Although I didn't write him back a lot of the times, I'd fill and I'd get his love that he sent. Send cards for the birthdays, and he makes weekly phone calls to me, whether they're 5 minutes or they're 50 minutes. Definitely commendable for his great traits. That's my dad. So by his hard work and example and his love towards me and others, he's quite a super dad. And it just might be the reason that I didn't turn out so bad. And after all the love that he sent me, I want to send some to him and say, Dad, I love you too.